Hey guys, I'm gonna be trying out Kirin on Starlight Sanctuary King of Gods. I've already used this same team to clear it before. I just wanted to go ahead and do it again for fun. Yeah, this team is under level, but right now, uh, a lot of the stuff is newer. The Rose Valkyrie is I max skilled her, but she's still new-ish. Apollo was from the Radiant Gala. I max skilled him on Harris Sawio. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. But I skill maxed him when she first came out, her dungeon. Venus I've had the longest, but I didn't skill max her until the last time that Echo collab was around because I wasn't using healers at the around the. I stopped using healers the last time Echo was around, so I didn't really do it. But then this time around, I decided to since I had nothing to run during the time Echo Club was here. Which I'm glad I did that. This team does a lot of damage output. I have King Bubbly there because he's going to power up Kirin, Apollo, and my friend's Kirin. I have Valkyrie and Venus in there because they add recovery to the team. Valkyrie adds light damage on a smaller cooldown. While Apollo's there for burst, Venus is for the control of the world that I'll use on Zeus if um, at the end. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and use my friend Catherine's um, Kirin and go in. The reason I like to use Starlight Sanctuary kind of like a little practice dungeon. The first 7 rounds are actually they're pretty basic. They're like any other dungeon, except they hit a slightly a bit more than the other dungeons, because this is the last stage before you get into the higher stamina dungeons of Legendary Seaway and Celestial Earth. They don't hit that. They hit hard, but you know, with a little bit of a leveled up team, it's fine. It's more like the first 7 rounds you practice your combos, and then the last three is where you kind of just put it to the test. I'm just gonna go ahead and stall for the abilities a bit. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and kill the ogre since he does more damage. I'm just gonna go ahead and whittle his health down. Um, the highest hitting thing is the ogre before you get to the bosses. He does 13,000, so that's something to watch out about. Though when the strong sign comes up, that means they'll either be able to one shot you or be close to it. So that's something to watch out about. So I'm gonna go ahead and move forward in the dungeon. You don't have to necessarily stall till all your abilities are up. You can just stall until they're close to being up, and then by the time you make it to the end, you should be fine. I'm still, of course, as I said in other videos, I'm still new to Kirin, so don't mind me if I mess up. As long as your team has a good amount of health on it, you shouldn't die to anything in this dungeon. Before taking her into any harder dungeons, I would suggest doing a little bit of practice um, before using Kirin. She's one of those you have to match certain colors, everything but dark, so you don't want to just go in. I like to practice things like that, or Horus or Ra or anybody else before just going in. Nice, plus I dropped. This should one shot the ogre. I'm not too worried about it. Um, yeah, it one shot the ogre. Even if you don't have Karen's active, like I said, this is like a practice ground. Just activating a ton of light damage would kill them. So I went ahead and activated Valkyrie. Um, I've done this dungeon well over hundreds of times with different teams, so I'm well adjusted to what possible things could happen if I mess up. Um, so it's just something to look out about. What I did is I cascaded down to the 25x. Um, so I could just one shot him and not have to deal with him. Um, okay, so Chaos Double Dragon decided to go on a one turn counter. I don't really like that. A lot of the time, the dungeon seems to work out of favor from me by giving one turn counters, but most of the time I'm running this with Red Sonja or Pandora teams, or sometimes Kashinada. It's a little bit easier to manage, so I don't have to really worry about things. But I'm still new with Kirin, so I was hoping you maybe a turn to set up the board if I need to, but I ended up having whatever I needed to anyways. So now I'm going to go ahead and activate King Bubbly and Venus. Venus is the control of the world. It lets me freely set up the board for 10 seconds, which is really nice. Um, I have enough to make 5 light combos if I do this correctly. I'm a little bit slow at control of the world, so I'll see what I can do. This team does a lot of damage. See, it easily one-shots Zeus. You know, it's not even double damage because this isn't. There's no dark cards on this team, so you know, light has no resistances, and neither does dark. But dark would do double damage on it just because dark is effective against light, and light is effective against dark. Kirin does a lot of damage, and when you add King Bubbly in it, you can add a lot of burst. You don't when making a physical Kirin team. The thing to note is you don't actually need all physical cards. You just need to to have a few. Kirin, Apollo, just having Kirin and Apollo is just enough, and then the rest I would put in is just more utilities. I like Rose, Valkyrie, and Venus just because they add recovery that this team needs because the other three are physical, and King Bubbly, you know, he's the enhanced that triples the damage that Kirin and Apollo do. Um, each my friend's Kirin did over 2 million just by herself. I believe my Kirin did in the higher 1.8 million. I believe mine is not 297. Apollo did probably like 1.5 if I remember correctly. Um, Recently, I did Starlight Sanctuary before, and I did a better run than this, and it put out a lot of damage. I actually used the same exact Kirin, which is why I used it in this video. I have other 297s, but I just used this one just because of last time. Here's a picture of how much damage output I was able to put out the last time. The Just my friend's Kirin put out 5 million light damage, 5.5 million because her main one did 5 million damage, and then her sub attribute does 10% of what her main attribute is. So I did that one did 508,000 on the sub attribute. Add a zero onto that, and you get how much your main attribute did. Because these pictures are kind of a little bit hard to read with all the damages overlapping. Even without the 75x, you can see that both Valkyrie and Venus did over a million on their own. Apollo did 3.5 million. My Kirin did 3,700,000. And in Starlight Sanctuary King of Gods, Zeus has 5 million health, so just my friend's Kirin did 5 million damage. So everything else was just extra damage, just the overkill overall. And I think the total damage was somewhere near. So, I think around 16 million total damage, which could one shot Zeus 3 times over. So that's a lot of damage that Kirin can do with this setup. That's the importance of sub attributes. It lets you play around with builds and make stronger builds for teams. And here's a stronger one when Kirin gains the physical subtype. This is one of those team builds that can get up to a ton of damage. So I thank you guys for watching this video, and see you next time.